invite you to close your prayer books for just a few moments as we do a little learning together. I'd like to begin this sermon with a quick Jeopardy question, just one question. There are many answers, and so let's see how many we can come up with together. Here's your question. How do we in the Jewish community mark the passing of time over the course of a single year? How do we in the Jewish community mark the passing of time over the course of a single year? Holidays, good. Parshiot, Torah portions. Life cycle events, awesome. Calendar, yeah, good. Yeah, no answers too obvious. Good. What else? Bob, was that a hand? No, okay. Seasons, thank you. Good. Remembrance, yes. Celebrations. Shabbos, yeah, each week. Good. Are there more? You hit the ones that I wanted you to say, so if there's any more, it's just bonus. Prayer. Rosh Chodesh and the order of the months. All of these are important. In fact, these various cycles of the Jewish year are actually interdependent. Given our luni-solar calendar and the matching of Torah portions to specific Shabbatot and holidays, these synchronized cycles offer multiple pathways to experience the spiral of Jewish time. This weekend is a wonderful example of how the Torah cycle and the sacred holiday calendar align to help us make meaning in our lives. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Devarim, the beginning of Deuteronomy, the final book of Torah. It opens with a recapitulation of the story of those 12 scouts about whom we read way back in Numbers. You remember, Moses sent those 12 emissaries into the Promised Land, and 10 returned saying the land was inhabited by giants, recommending the Israelites turn back rather than journey onward. When the whole assembly followed those 10 rather than listening to the other two, Caleb and Joshua, who encouraged the people to advance, God punished everyone, forcing them to wander for 40 years before being given a second chance in this week's Torah portion. After 40 years of wandering the hot, barren wilderness, finally the Israelites, now actually the children of those who were enslaved in Egypt, are granted permission to march forward into the Promised Land. It's here that the people set forth on the final phase of their journey, soon moving physically from Sinai to the land that God will show them. However, our sages comment that, of course, the 40 years in the wilderness was much more than the physical square miles that the people traveled. Rather, God's invitation to them to walk into the Promised Land comes after 40 years of spiritual and emotional journeying too. The beginning of Deuteronomy, a reminder of our biblical ancestors' punishment for their fickleness, is aligned each year with the Jewish holiday Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the Hebrew month of Av, which begins this year, tomorrow evening, sundown on July 17th. Tisha B'Av is said to be the date on which both the first and second temples in Jerusalem were destroyed. Among many other calamities that befell the Jewish people throughout history, Tisha B'Av also commemorates massacres connected with the Crusades, expulsions from England in the 13th century, the Spanish Inquisition in the 15th, to name just a few. So what does this all mean for us? How does any of this help us to bring more meaning and purpose to our lives today? For an answer, let's turn to a third cycle in the Jewish year. Not the single date holiday calendar, but the flow of the larger liturgical seasons. Tisha B'Av comes exactly 7 weeks before Rosh Hashanah and the High Holy Days. 7 weeks. one of the most important periods for Jews everywhere. From the spiritual depths of Tisha B'Av, the holy days are right there on the horizon. Jewish tradition invites us to do the work of introspection and teshuvah in these coming weeks in order to be truly prepared to experience the heights of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Remember, the number 7 in Jewish tradition symbolizes the creation of new things and wholeness. God created the world in 7 days. The week is divided into 7 equal units. There are many more. And so it's significant that there are 7 weeks between Tisha B'Av and Rosh Hashanah. It's time for us to seek wholeness for ourselves, for our world. When approached with intention, it can be enormously constructive time. Rabbi Alan Liu of blessed memory taught, we can regard the 9th of Av and the week surrounding it as a cursed time, or we can regard the 9th of Av as a time when we are reminded that catastrophes will keep recurring in our lives until we get things right, until we learn what we need to learn from them. Midrash on scripture read during these weeks tells of Adam, the first human being whose transgressions resulted in his expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Adam, about whom the Holy One said, Adam the first, I brought him into the garden, I gave him a command, he transgressed my command, I judged him with expulsion, I judged him with banishment, and I lamented over him. The rabbis remind us that Adam was no angel, and was not endowed with superpowers. We too, also called Adam, humans, are just as fallible as Adam the first. We also, from time to time, miss the mark, some weeks more frequently or more egregious than others, alienating ourselves from family, from friends, from God. Therefore, we must do the work of teshuvah, the ongoing work of return to be our best selves. For in 7 weeks on Rosh Hashanah, the start of the new year, and the day, as it said, that the world was conceived, we'll pray, this day marks the beginning of your creation. It's a remembrance of the first day. A nod to Adam, the crown of creation, the human who is celebrated on Rosh Hashanah. Well, just as we too are fallible like Adam, we too are worthy of praise and God's admiration if only our behavior merits it. The thing is, the Holy Day liturgy assumes we've done the work beforehand. Essentially, that we came to class on Rosh Hashanah having already done our homework. Beautifully orchestrated, or maybe we should say divinely orchestrated. The Torah cycle, the sacred calendar, and our liturgy all together come together to welcome us into this season of reflection and teshuvah, signaling us in the direction of making meaning. All 3 illuminating cycles come together like a floodlight, shining brightly so that we can navigate this path of holiness. May we heed our tradition's call and journey onward into the coming days in this season with the appropriate intentionality, enabling us to find deeper meaning and connection with ourselves, with each other, and with God. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may our actions merit that coming true. Shabbat Shalom.